for joining us for today's talk, Baby Toddler Sign Language. It's just a beginner's course, so if you have some experience with sign language from another course, this might be a little too advanced for you. This is someone just starting out, the basics of how to do it, what might be the first signs to do, why to do it, and some myths in case your family members tell you you're crazy for doing sign language with your baby. Background on me, my name is Jasna Cowan. I'm the Director of Speech Goals Speech Therapy. And I started the baby sign language course at Kaiser Permanente years and years ago when everyone thought I was crazy about why I would be teaching babies and toddlers sign language. I used sign language with all three of my kiddos, and I saw the benefits firsthand about how amazing it was for them to be able to communicate with me, tell me what they were thinking. It was like amazing. I took lots of videos and pictures of my kids signing, and it was really, really fun. I think we got started with communication a little bit early, and so it was just a very bonding experience for us, and that's why I think it's so amazing, and I wanted to share with you, all of you. If you haven't done so already, we would love to know where you're coming from. So I know the 4Cs have invited a lot of the daycare providers, preschool teachers, directors that were on my last workshop call. Thank you so much, you guys, for being on here. On the line, we have some social workers from Golden Gate Regional Center and parents, but we would love to know, like, why are you here? Are you a parent? How old is your baby? Do you have a child that's speech delayed? Like, tell me who you are and what you would like to gather from this workshop today, so that I hope to cover all of that for you guys. And while you guys text over some information, we'll just get started. Okay, so why use baby sign language? I actually got started as soon as my daughter was able to see me and started moving her hands around. So you can get started as early as 3 to 4 months of age. Are you going to see them signing back to you? Probably not. But it's okay to expose to the words and the signs and the movements. That's all amazing, and they're ready to take it on and watch what the signs are. So you can get started as early as 3 to 4 months. 6 to 9 months, they have a lot more control of their hands, and so it's really great, a really great time to keep moving forward and exposing them to some really common signs that they might be able to use. So 3 to 4 months, we don't expect anything back. We're just showing them and associating the signs with whatever's happening in their world. 6 to 9 months, you might start to see maybe something happening, but it might not be as perfect as you thought. So for example, my daughter Ella, I was teaching her milk. For every time I breastfed, every time I gave her a bottle, I would show her milk right by the milk bottle. And one day I noticed, like, she was getting ready for her bottle and I was holding her, and before I actually gave her the milk, she did something like this with her hand, and she was actually staring at her hand like in awe, like, oh my God, I'm moving my hand. And I had to accept that. And I said, wow, milk, you're right, you did it. And that was really amazing. So I mentioned in this slide, it's really important to know that just as children start to talk and say dog, they might not say the word dog. They might actually say dog. So we expect the same thing from the movements. It might not be an open and closed fist for milk. It might just be something like this or like this. Whatever they can do, they're going to try to do. And so we want to honor the approximations, we call it, and make sure we say the word out loud if you see any movements like they're trying to do something. Sign language also really relieves frustration. So it's really common in our world, in our work of that we have delayed kiddos, speech delayed kiddos, and they tend to be a group of really frustrated kids because they can't tell you what they need. Same thing for babies. They can't tell you what they're needing in the moment. So sign language can really reduce the frustration, especially if the children can't use your mouths yet and use their words. starting with baby sign language, you still can teach children with motor delays. It's not a bad thing. We just have to remember that we would accept an approximation. It might not be perfect. But children who have motor delays, like delays with their fine motor, using their hands, they might have a harder time showing you the sign language back, but you can always still teach them if that's something that you'd like to do, just knowing that we have to accept whatever they're able to give us back. And precision is not what we're looking for here. We hear a lot of myths about baby sign language from parents, especially extended family members, grandparents say, oh, no, 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 you shouldn't teach them sign language because they're never going to talk if you teach them sign. And, that's actually a myth. Sign language is the equivalent to another language. It's actually building a part of the brain between 0 and 3 and creating a new part of the brain. So the brain knows how much language stimulation do we need here. It's a really wonderful thing to expand on their language area of the brain between 0 and 3. And definitely it's totally false that sign language is going to keep the child from talking. Actually, the reverse is what happens is if they had a speech delay to begin with, at least they're able to express what they're feeling, what they want, while their mouth is working itself out and getting stronger to say words. And the other one is we hear a lot in the community. Well, if my baby is using sign language, people might think that they're hearing impaired or deaf. And really, this is very old school thinking, and it's definitely something that we are we see a lot of. This is not just for the hearing impaired and the deaf. This is actually, like I said, a real language and super helpful in the development for young children. Some facts about baby sign language, so just so that you have it. Gestural communication, babies tend to have more ability to coordinate their hands and feet. That's why you see them like swatting at toys, laying down and swatting at toys, grabbing at things before their actual mouth can start to make sounds and words. So we want to use that and encourage the baby sign language because of that. As soon as your child's able to use words, they tend to leave behind the sign language. So there's no worries there. So say, for example, you were teaching your child want, and they will use the signs for want until they can actually say the word want. And then usually they start to like just rid of the gestures on their very own. It's a very natural process that kind of goes away. And there is a way to kind of gradually help them get to that point. So I'll give you some tips as we go along, so that you guys know what to do, going from gestures to talking. Um, Motor coordinations of the mouth can delay a child's speech. So sometimes as a speech therapist, we help kids learn sign language. It's just really, really important to be talking to your speech therapist so we know, okay, when are we going to move away from these signs and move into using your mouth, using your voice, using your words. So if you have a speech delayed kiddo, I'm going to help you learn what all these top 20 signs are. And then as your child gets really good at these, if you have a speech therapist, make sure that you're touching base with your speech therapist about how to move out of the gestures in the sign language so that they get more work with their mouth. Okay, so let's see. Um, I think this is a special tip specifically that I use. So I'm not necessarily just using the sign. So the sign for music, for example, is like this on your hand, on your arm, music. And you might see people just do this. I actually use the syllables with the sign. So for example, I might say music. So it's actually creating awareness of sounds, of syllables, and phonemic awareness. So this is kind of a tip that I use as a speech pathologist, and I really recommend that we do this. So I'll show you along the way how I might break down the syllables with the signs so that they match each other. And we're really creating some really good phonemic awareness, which is just the babies and children's awareness of what they're hearing. How many syllables are in that? How many movements would that be? And so it's really fun to do that. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about prior to age 3, how the brain is actually developing this area of language in the left side of the brain. And so if you're using baby sign language, it's encouraging more to be developed in that area. So that's really great. I also love baby sign language for any household or any child that hears more than one language. And I always say, for example, at home, we always recommend to keep going with the sounds, I'm sorry, the language of the home. So if it's Spanish, that the parents teach their children Spanish at home, they will learn English outside. So no need to stop the language that you're using in the home. It's very important to continue with the language that is natural to you. So for example, if we were working with a family that speaks Spanish at home and we say quiero or dame, once they get out into the daycares, preschools, the teachers could also use the same sign and say, you want? And so the child starts to see, whoa, I know what that sign means. Oh, okay. Dame means want, and the English word for that is want. And so sign language can actually bridge multiple languages together and reduce kind of a confusion that might be happening if you're exposing your child to multiple languages. So I love it for that reason. How and when to teach the baby signs. Okay, so we'll talk about these. I'm just going to go through all of these facts in the beginning, and then I'm going to leave some time for some practice because that's going to be the main goal is how, can everybody remember 5 to 10 signs by the end of this workshop? Okay, so we don't want to start off offering babies 15 signs. We want to work on 2 or 3 signs at a time. That's it. And maybe after 2 or 3 weeks of exposure, depending on their age, we will start to introduce maybe 1 or 2 more. So make sure that you're exposing to no more than 2 or 3 signs at a time. The younger they are, the slower we're going to go. So I would say stick to your 2 and 3 signs. If you're teaching your baby from a very young age, 3 months old, you're going to stick with those 2 or 3 for at least maybe 3 or 4 months. And then as their motor development gets a little better, then we can start to add 1 or 2 every 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so that's a really important tip because I'll tell you what happens when parents tend to share all the different signs and we get excited. And so we want to show them the more and the want and the mine and the music. And so what you tend to get is a 9-month-old that will scroll their whole body. So they're like, I don't know which one it is. I just know I'm supposed to move my body. So we don't want to do that. We want the children, we want to give them time. We want to show them 2 or 3 signs at a time and move slowly from there. Okay, let's pick signs that are the most important for your baby, like milk. If they have milk every day, if your child doesn't drink any milk, then milk would not be appropriate. We would not go with that one. Um, Eat. Every baby and toddler eats every day, especially after 6 or 9 months. So eat would be one of the signs that you could use and start off with. I'm not personally a fan of more because I think babies and toddlers get stuck with this, especially if they have a speech delay. Everything's more. More means want. More means toys. More means help. So I try to stay away from more until a little bit later, but we'll keep going through some of these tips. Also, I'm not a fan of starting with academic language like colors and shapes. Not yet. So not the first signs. I would say keeping the academic language for preschool age kiddos would be great, unless you have a toddler that loves colors and numbers and shapes. We don't really want to start with those. Great for the preschool teachers, preschool educators, daycare providers to do between 2.5 and up, but we wouldn't start with those uh, starting off. Um, and you can keep adding signs as you see your child kind of doing some, trying to make the signs for some. So they're trying to do some of the signs. We can start to move like, oh, she's doing this sign for milk. It's not perfect. She moves her hands like this. So I'm going to add a new one to the list. So that's totally fine. How should we start to teach? Okay, so this is huge. This is very, very important. How we do this is very important. So the first step is to think about how your baby thinks in the here and now. Whatever your child is looking at is what you want to start to teach as far as sign language. So for example, if you have a baby that's about to have their milk, the milk is with right in front of you, that's a great time to have the milk next to your face. So we're building associations for the word, right? So one thing is like you have it ready. It's in the here and now. It's in the present. It's not in the future. You're not going to say to your baby, do you want some milk? And then walk over to the kitchen, get the bottle ready. That's too much time. Babies can only think, and some toddlers too, what's in the here and now. So we really want to make sure that you have the milk ready or you're right about to breastfeed. And that's when you show them the sign and you use the word always. So the key to not having your child rely on only sign language are parents that are simultaneously using, or teachers using the sign with the word always. So I'm never going to say, oh, do you want some? No, I'm always going to say milk, milk. And if you notice my intonation, the music to my word is special. And I'm using my facial expression. So I said milk, milk, so that the baby can really figure out, okay, this is special and there's movement associated here. So this is really great. So facial expressions, movements, music to my voice, and in the here and now, right before the child is going to get something or whatever they're looking at is what we're going to use the signs for. We're really wanting to build the meaning of the words and the signs with the actual object or what it means. Um, a speech tip from, again, because I'm a speech therapist, would be always like bringing things up to your face and looking for lots of attention to the mouth. So if I were to say milk, how would you know how to make that sound? Is that ilk? That's what it sounds like when you can't see my mouth. So it's really important that babies and toddlers see your mouth, how you make that sound, milk, so that they can say, oh, you close your mouth like that. Okay, I'm going to try that. One day I'll try that. So make sure you're bringing objects up to your face, bringing lots of attention to how you pronounce that word along with the signs. So I always recommend not having your signs be like here, but like here. Milk, more, please. It's always very close to my face so that the babies and children can see how to pronounce the words, not only what the sign is. So phonological awareness are like children learning what sounds make up words. It's really great for reading in the future. So we can do that by breaking the sounds down of the words while we expose to sign language. So for example, here's an example if we want to practice water. So water is the W sign by your chin and it taps your chin. But I specifically break it down by syllables. So for example, water, water. So if you want to take a second, let's all practice together. W for water, looks like a W, and twice because I hear two syllables. Water, water. Emphasizing that eye contact so that your child can also see how you pronounce the W in water. focusing on that first sound is really important. And again, using facial expressions. So let's try that because that wasn't really great that I did the last one. Let's do water one more time, practice. We're going to use the music in your voice. Water, water, and 2 taps on the chin with the W. Are we ready? Let's practice. Water, water. Okay, thanks for practicing. Okay, specifically, I tend to recommend American Sign Language over just using any gesture because I'm a speech therapist. Again, we hear from parents all the time, like, oh, he does, like he taps his head twice and he kind of, rubs his face, and that means he's hungry. So that's a made up gesture. Um, that might be really hard to teach a daycare provider, a preschool teacher in the future, all the different made up signs that your child has made because they can't speak yet. So we really recommend looking at something, an established language like American Sign Language. There's also signing exact English that's more used in the hearing impaired community. So American Sign Language is a great one. I think teachers and preschool teachers and daycare providers and your family members, grandma and grandpa, can continue the American Sign Language. They can always just look it up online. So I would recommend looking at something like that. Um, and it's an easy system to just keep moving forward. So I would recommend American Sign Language, and there's a couple references for books that I'll include at the end. Um, so yeah. Okay, so the top 3 signs I would say for babies, would be these 3. So we'll start with want. So want is just your 2 hands out and you're pulling it towards yourself, want, okay? And then the next one would be something like milk. So I always say it's kind of like milking a cow. If you think of the movements of milking the cow, that's how you'll remember. One hand open and close, milk. And eat. So right before a baby eats, if they're having rice cereal or baby food, you can show the sign eat right before you're about to offer the food. Again, not before you're supposed to go over and get the food. All done. Yes, thanks, Monica. All done is a really great one also to help babies, especially if after a meal, if they're starting to eat meals and you're all done, or they start to look away to say they don't want any more, that's also a great one that you can start to do all done. We also do all done. So there's 2 different ways. This is very difficult for an infant to do because it creates a lot of fine motor movements of the wrists. So sometimes this is a lot easier. Babies can definitely swipe a high chair full of food off that they don't want anymore. So it's a little bit easier to do this sign for all done. Thanks for sharing. The next signs might be some that you consider for a preschool. So I love playtime. So play, it's this sign with both hands moving this way. This is a lot harder for a baby to do. So these are things that I recommend for preschoolers, but you can still always show your baby the sign. Potty, because all of a sudden potty training is kind of an important stage that the children are in. So it's the T sign, your thumb between your 2 fingers and shaking back and forth, potty. Nap time, in case at preschool they're doing nap time, so it's time for sleep. I mean, nap time, sorry, this one. This is beautiful. Nap time, I also just refer to this one as well, so you can do one or either or. Book and story time. So a lot of people confuse book with open. Open is actually hands facing away and open. And then book is like it's closed. Your book is closed and it opens like that. This is book or story. Music, like I mentioned, music. So your hand kind of goes over your arm length. Um, Puzzle. Um, so this is one way to do puzzle. We also do this one for puzzle. So it's really up to you which one you like best. More signs for preschoolers. So it's time to sit down. So it's like the chair and your legs go over the chair. Sit down. Please, I don't recommend please and thank you until about after age 3. I know parents really want their kids to be um, as polite as possible, but I don't think it's a concept that's very motivating to babies until they get to be about preschool age. So please and thank you for the preschoolers might be good ones to start off with. And then this is the last kind of reference page that I'm going to share with you guys so we can get started with the 20 practices. Oh, sure. Araceli, I actually use puzzle. So it's like your two thumbs hitting the table. Puzzle. That's the one I use. There's a different one in this one, and everyone, hopefully you guys have your emails to us. We're going to send you the top 20 signs uh, in this kind of form, and also with some lines on the side, so you can try to remember. How did they make that sign again, so that you can remember it. So puzzle in this one is two fingers kind of moving back and forth. Puzzle. I think it's a little too much coordination, but some preschoolers could do it. I also like to do the two thumbs. Puzzle. Okay, really quick, back to the references. I didn't go over that one. Okay, thanks so much. Um, I love the book Signing with Your Baby by Joseph Garcia. That's the one I got started with and really like got me excited when I was teaching my babies how to do sign. It's got a little pamphlet in there that you can stick on the fridge and just stare at it every day. So I really love that book. That's really great. And it talks a lot about the things that I mentioned today about being in the here and now, exposing sign based on what you have ready for your child, not allowing a lot of time. So present moment signing. What it doesn't have are all the speech tips that I'm offering you guys to make sure when you're signing, you're not signing like down by your waist so that baby's not paying attention. You're always kind of signing and making sure the baby's looking at your face while you're doing the sign and signing close to your face. Always bringing objects. So like, for example, if this were my water, I would bring it up to my face and show the sign, water, and then maybe hand the water to the child so that there's a lot of association building. Um, there's also images on babysignlanguage.com that you guys can take a look at in the top 20 baby signs at mamanatural.com/baby sign language. So these are all references you guys can take a look at your own time. And if we're all ready, we can get started maybe first with questions, and then we'll move into maybe just 3 or 4 minutes of questions, and then we'll move into the practice of the top 20 signs. I really recommend that everyone be ready to practice because that's how you'll walk away remembering what these signs are. If you can walk away with 5 or 10 signs that you'll remember on your own because you put an association to it, like I mentioned, milking the cow or putting food in your mouth is eat. Um, or like, I don't know, thank you. You gave me something and I want to let you know that I'm happy. So thank you. You gave me something and thank you. Um, so building associations is how you're going to remember these signs. So I really want everyone to be able to practice and write down some notes for yourself. And we will follow up in an email with the top 20 signs that we will send you guys for being here today. Thank you so much.
We have a question, Miss Jasna, in the chat. Is it too early to teach ABCs in sign language?
Stasha, thanks for the question. I think it's really important if to know how old your little one is. So if it's an infant, I would say probably not ABCs to start with. And toddlers, you know, they might still also be a little bit young, especially if there's speech delays. I wouldn't focus on the ABCs. I may be more interested in the ABCs. As the children get into the preschool age, and if there's no speech delay. Because if we're using sign language and there's a speech delay, I prefer signs that are really important for communication, like milk, hungry, thirsty, eat, ouch, thank you, please. Well, not thank you, please is later. But those things that can really help you guys, help the children communicate their everyday needs before the letters of the alphabet. So great question. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any tips for toddlers on the spectrum who are not very interested in imitation? Okay, well, let's think about it. Thank you for your question. Um, I think it would be a really great thing to think about the first three signs that you want to focus on. And I would recommend um, to make sure it's something that might be interesting for your child. So, for example, if your child really loved books, I might use the sign for book over the first top three. Eating is something that happens quite often throughout the day. So that might be something that you want to think about is eat. Children with autism don't tend to be really great at communicating their everyday needs. So I might do something like eat and maybe associate that right before the child's going to eat any foods. Um, but I do really, really recommend for you to make sure you're bringing the food, like if it's, especially if it's a snack that the child loves, make sure that you're bringing the food up to your face so that you're also working on their eye contact and for them to see how you pronounce the word eat, eat. Um, so I would think about any signs that are really interesting to your child. So if your child loved dinosaurs, maybe that would be a first sign. If your child loves eating food, but they scream to tell you they're hungry, that might be a sign that you want to work on. But the number one tip for you would be making sure that your baby or your child's looking at your face or able to see what you're doing. So always face to face. Maybe like if they're sitting in a high chair before you give the food, you know they're looking at you. You have the food. They might be more focused on the food than on you. You want to bring it kind of close to your face and then tell them, eat, but always say the word with the sign, and then you can give the food. So thanks for that question. Do we help them use their hands when singing? I think that's a great idea, Natasha. I think, there's a reason that Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, The Wheels on the Bus are babies and toddlers' favorite songs. And it's because there's movement involved in it. So yes, I think it's really great if you could teach your little ones to roll their hands when it's wheels on the bus. That's wonderful, as long as they're not reluctant, as long as they're not sensitive. So I want to make sure that all the preschool teachers, daycare providers, if you have a child that's sensitive to touch, they might not like it when you touch their hands. In that case, we could do it. We want to just model for them, or if they're kind of loose and they allow you to do that, then that's fine. But if they're sensitive to touch, I wouldn't I wouldn't force it on any child, to be quite honest with you. Just keep modeling. Thanks you guys for all the wonderful questions. Hopefully that is all helpful. Okay, we have more questions. Michelle, how does he switch from signing to speaking? Oh, okay, great. Yes. Okay, thank you so much for reminding me about that. Okay, so here's a big tip. I love sign language, and I say always, like, as the child is moving from gestures to talking, Some kids get kind of stuck in that gestural communication, but it mostly has to do with children who are having problems pronouncing things, knowing how to make the sounds. So that's why they get really good at signing and they can start to learn all these signs, but the mouth is not as moving as much as we want it to. So think about this. If your little one is understanding everything you have to say for example, you can talk to them and they really get what you're saying, you might want to say, "Thank you for showing me. You showed me more with your hands. You showed me more with your hands. Thank you." And then, with the help of a speech therapist, if your child's speech delayed, you can get some tips about, "Thank you for showing. Can you use your mouth? Hands, use your hands, or tell me more." And maybe we're focusing just on the first sound of the word rather than the whole word or it being perfect. So you can say, "Thank you for showing me. I know you did more. You showed me more. How about your mouth now? We do more." So modeling, like you mentioned, waiting and seeing what happens, and just try to focus on that first sound, because some children that are having problems with coordination, they're like, "Oh my gosh, look, oh, I can't. That's just too many sounds. I can't make that word. No way. I'm not even trying." But if they hear you just say, "Mmm," you might get a back. So that would be really great. So yes, let's distinguish showing from using mouth, especially if they have good understanding of language, good receptive language skills, then we can try to start sharing with them. Sign language is your hands, talking with your mouth. Oh, you used your mouth. You said, something like that. Does that make sense, Michelle? Is that helpful? But we do always want to honor, the showing, because that's also communication. So we don't want to frustrate them. And then all of a sudden kids are like, "Gosh, man, I'm telling you what I want. First you were excited about using these signs and now that's not good enough." So we want to say, "You did a great job. You're showing me more. How about with your mouth like mommy? More." And see what happens. So know that you're going to model something for a couple of weeks before the children actually start to try. So it's kind of like going to another country. We're not expected to know the language in another country until we've heard it 1,000 times and you feel comfortable, like you remember how you say it and you'll give it a shot. Same thing with babies. They need to hear it, hear it, hear it, model, model, model. And then with some time and patience and encouragement and positivity, you're going to see them trying to make those sounds. So be ready to be there and yay. Well, don't do yay if you have a child with autism and they're sensitive to sounds. That would not be a good one. Maybe you want to use a hug or a kiss or something else. But whatever is reinforcing to your child, whatever makes them know that you're proud of them and happy, is what you want to be ready to do, even if the sign is not perfect. Okay. Thanks, Christine, for the thoughtful comment. I really appreciate it. Okay, if we're ready, we can move into our 20 signs. Um, that would be the most helpful. So get your hands out, get your facial expressions out, and we're going to practice these signs together. You're going to get a copy, but if you want to write down some notes so that you can remember, that would be great. Okay, let's start with want. So it's two hands out, palms up, want. You're bringing it into your body. You want, I always say, I really want that chocolate. I want that chocolate cake. I love chocolate cake. I want it. So this is the sign for want, just bringing it closer. Okay? Next one is milk. Like I mentioned, it's like milking a cow. Milk. Everyone practice the sign 3 times. Let's try milk. Milk is important. This is one of the top 3. Eat. So your hand is positioned like this and it comes up to your mouth as if you got an M&M. Back to my milk chocolate. Grab your M&M and put it in your mouth. Eat. More is like you still grab. You have the M&Ms but you ate them all. You ate them all. So then you want some more. More. So unlike this picture, you see where the woman is signing more? Close to her chest. I'm recommending closer to your mouth. More. Okay? Also, water is the W for water. Here's a W, W, and on your chin, water, water. And we'll move on to the next couple. So want, water, we've gone over those. Let's go through play. So these are some of the preschool age or outside. Before a baby wants to go outside, they get their shoes, they're ready to go. They might not be able to tell you they want to go outside. You want to say, want to go out and play? Play. So it's like the hang loose sign, you're in Hawaii. That's where you go to play. Adults go to play in Hawaii. So play, play. Music is like you're playing the violin on your arm. Play. Music, sorry. Music is like a violin you're playing on your arm. So that's how I remember it. Whatever works for you. Book. Here's the book that's closed, and we're going to open the book. Book or story time. Potty is the P. I don't know how I remember this, but this is the P for potty, and you shake it back and forth. Potty. If you think that's too difficult, I also am totally fine approximating and patting the diaper to say it's time for potty. That's fine too. So you do what you think is easier for your child, but that's the official sign. Then sleep, sleep, or nighttime, night, night. Babies tend to do this one a little easier, so you could do one either or. And we'll move on to the next one. Help. So this is also one of those tricky ones that my daughter, when she learned it, it was like all over the place. I think she was doing this. So she was like 12 months old and she would do this because this was way too difficult. So it's like thumbs up, you're hitchhiking, you need help, you need to drive somewhere, and that the car comes and picks you up and drives you off. So help. Um, but again, some people use this for help, tapping your chest. Yeah, we'll get you the slides, no problem. As soon as we make sure that we have your email, and we'll definitely get you these slides so you have them. You have a copy. So help is you're hitchhiking, and this car comes along and helps you with a ride. Also, this one you can use for more simple help, tapping your chest with both hands. Sit down. Your legs are sitting on the chair. Here's the chair, and your legs go over them. So sit down, please. So just rubbing your chest in a circular fashion, please. Thank you, because someone gave you something and you want to say thank you. Thank you. And I can't see the bottom. Is that all done? Sorry, I can't see the bottom. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I mentioned this is all done. You could do all done, all done. And sometimes this is way easier. All done, all done. So I mentioned to you guys, if you have an infant or toddler, this movement may be too difficult. It's okay for preschool aged as long as there's no motor coordination difficulties. You might just want to do like a swiping, all done, and that's fine too. Puzzle, I mentioned that this one is a little bit more difficult. Puzzle, I like to use this one, the two thumbs hitting the table. Puzzle, puzzle. And then ball, ball, make sure we're all practicing together. Ball, ball. Again is kind of like more. So again, let's do it again. Might be appropriate during music time. Should we sing that song again? Dog. So dog is the official sign is actually hitting your leg and snapping, hitting your leg and snapping. An approximation would be just to tap your leg as if you're calling your dog to come here. So you could say dog, just tapping your leg. Cat is the whiskers of a cat. I like to use my whole hand. So cat, cat. I'll tell you a story really quick about the cat. My 12-month-old oldest child was sitting in her high chair one day and she was having her snack, kind of just feeding herself. And she was looking outside. She couldn't even say mama yet. She was like, ah, ah, and she's getting my attention. And then I looked at her, I was like, what is going on? And she started to do this. And I said, oh, is that a cat? Where's the cat? And she pointed outside on the gate. So it was really cute. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know she could do that. Then a couple days later, when she was sitting having her lunch again, she kind of yelled for my attention again and showed me outside, and she was like, cat, to say like, where is it, mom? Remember, I didn't know what she was telling me, but she remembered a memory, and she was only 12 months old. So I thought that was amazing to know through sign language that she could tell me what she was thinking about. She was pointing outside saying like, where's the cat, mom? Or do you remember we saw a cat the other day, mom? And it was really special for me. So that's kind of a memory I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, changing diaper. Um, changing the diaper is kind of two hands together. This is how I use it in switching. Another one might be just the sign for diaper, which is like the two Velcro parts on your waist where the diaper goes. So you can say it's time to change your diaper, change, and then diaper. Bath is holding two soaps in your hands and rubbing your body clean. So bath. Okay, so you have the soap and we're rubbing our body clean, bath. Mommy, I'm okay with you guys signing mommy, that's fine, but I really prefer the verbal mama. So let's just, I'll show you what it is, and then always make sure you're overemphasizing the word mama. So mama, mama, mama. So it's a great visual, but I really do want to focus on the word mama over the sign, but it's fine because you can say mama. And then daddy is the same movement, but on your forehead, daddy. I always say it's kind of like where they wear their baseball caps or hats. So daddy. Mama's on the chin, daddy's on the forehead. Hug is really easy. It's just a hug, and I love you. Hug. And I think that might be it. Is it?
Yes, that's the end of
Oh,
our top 25.
oh, wow. We got through it. Wow. Okay. So those would be the top 20 to 25 signs I might start with. Um, you can always use this to share, to have like kind of on the fridge, whatever you're looking at. So, you know, if you're at home and you want your husband to get involved, it's a great, or your wife, to have the reference there in front of you is always super helpful. If you're a preschool teacher, it's always cool to share this, what you're doing at school with the kids, and that these would be some of the signs that you're going to share with them. um, be ready for those questions, because if it's your idea to do some sign language in class, parents might have questions about how that might stunt their language growth. So make sure you remember about all of the different things that we mentioned about how sign language is like using another language. It is another language, and how it promotes a part of the brain for language development. And so these are all great things. And you can reference those myths and truths if you need to. Um, so it's a quick one, you guys, but if you don't have any other questions, let me know if you have any. Happy to go over any other questions that anyone might have. Um, but this is just a beginner's course. And so I'm teaching you guys how you might get started, what signs to get started with, and make sure we're having a lot of fun with this. So we don't want to force babies or children to do any signs. We don't want to force their hands if they're not interested in hand over hand. If the child has loose hands and they let you put their hands together, that's okay. But if the child screams and doesn't like it, then I would really just stick to modeling.
We have a question in the chat, Ms.
Sure.
Jasna. If a child is not very motivated by water but is by juice, can we use the water sign for juice?
You could, or you could just use the sign for juice. So it's a J in front of your mouth, juice. Or like a cup, you can say cup because it could be juice is fine though, J. Or if you want to, if you think water might be easier, you could also do that. That's fine.
And also, is
Thanks
it
for the
fine?
question.
Oh, sorry. Their other question was, is it fine to combine PECs and signs? He grabs the juice card and gives it to me and also signs juice.
Sure. Yeah, I think as much language simulation as possible is wonderful. So really important though, if you're using PECs, and we're talking about PECs as in the picture exchange system, sometimes used for kids who's really behind or may have have autism. So when they bring you the card with the picture on it, make sure you're bringing the picture up to your face and then the sign juice, so that we're building this association of how do you make that word verbally, because the ultimate goal is we want children to be less frustrated and use sign language when there is frustration. But if we can get them to talk, that's the ultimate goal. So you're really helping with verbal communication. If you grab the peck and you bring it up to your face and you're promoting, how do you make that sound? Juice, juice. So I'm sorry, mahaglo. It might be good to uh, really focus on that first sound in the word juice and offer the sign. I think that's a great idea. Okay, well, if you guys thought this was helpful, we're really happy that you guys all were here today to learn a little bit more about sign language. Um, Although I'm not a fan of Zoom, I mean, everything Zoom and virtual, we really appreciate being able to get to a lot of different people from all over, preschool teachers, daycare providers, administrators from preschools and schools, parents of speech delayed kiddos, parents with children with autism. We have some social workers on the line. So really, really grateful to you guys for all being here today, and taking the time to listen to me, to this workshop. And I hope that it helps you guys build on communication with your little ones. Um, so wonderful. And thank you guys all for being here. Please share any stories that you have, things that come up. We would love to hear from you. And make sure that we have your email so that we can get you the top 25 signs, so you have that as a reference. Thank you all for being here today, and we hope this was helpful. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much, everyone. This is Johanna. I'll be sending out the handout, the recording, and the slides to the email that you registered with, unless you have a different email that you'd like to send me in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Johanna, for everything and helping with the coordination of this. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
Appreciate it. If anybody has questions about speech and language development, you can always email us also at info@speechgoals.com. We also have really helpful YouTube videos on our channel. It's you just search YouTube for speech goals, and we have a lot of different topics and little tidbits and tips and stuff. So if you'd like to go on there, please follow us. Thank you guys so much for being here today, and hopefully we can keep doing some little mini workshops like this in the future. We plan on doing that. So thank you.